whole purpose of improving business operations, introduction to new products, business services. Um, yeah, data is a very key aspect of every business or every business organization. They help to, interpret, analyze, and foresee business growth or business aspirations as it may be.
Thank
I
you.
hope
Thank
I've
you.
tried.
Yes, you have really tried, really more than
Thank
tried. So thank you so
you.
much, very much for that. So from the two volunteers, thank you very much, both of you, by the way. I really appreciate your answer. So a data analyst would get data, organize it, study it, analyze it, and help business decision makers to find insights within their data so that they can make timely decisions, which helps them to make more money. It's all about making more money or saving money at the end of the day so that they get their market share of whatever business. Please mute if you are not talking so that you don't disturb our recording. Okay.
Can you make me co-host, Sister Debbie? Make me co-host, please.
Okay. Where are you? Thank you. A bit of housekeeping before we carry on. Anytime we're in class, if you're not talking, please, let's make it a habit to mute, so that we don't get distracted in class. It's not nice to listen back or watch this and, hear all of that noise. Thank you for complying with that. And very quickly, we have also spoken about responsibilities of a data analyst, So a data analyst would obtain the data, clean it by removing duplicate, filtering, removing null values, finding missing data, different operations, making sure data type is correct, put it through charts to look for trends and generate easy to understand reports. That is the responsibility that we have on our shoulders. We have to work with other people. We have to identify business needs and priorities and work according to the vision of the business, per time. That is the responsibilities of a data analyst. I'm running through this because we looked at this all of last week. And the qualities that we possess among the list is not just this, but majorly we have to have very good attention to details. We have to be able to problem solve. We have to be able to think critically around how we are approaching a particular problem. And analytical thinking is very important. We have to have good industry knowledge because that helps you to put good context, the right context to the data that you're working with. Effective communication skill, very important, but whether it's written or whether it's spoken, because it's part of the core of what you do. You have to be able to communicate your finding, and be able to persuade your stakeholders to go with your recommendation. And of course, excellent technical skills, how you use your tools, SQL, Power BI, Python, R, all of those skills, very, very cogent to what we do. And we've gone through these keywords in good detail. We talked about data life cycle. I'm going to pick a few of them and call on people to try and remember what this is about. I know we did stress on data life cycle last week. Do I have a volunteer who wants to go for it? What is data life cycle? What stages do does the data go through from beginning to end in its lifetime? Okay, let's see who hasn't spoken. Good evening, Mr. Adeleke. Good evening, sir. Are you able to talk where you are, sir? If you can unmute, we're trying to see what data lifecycle is. What is data lifecycle? Can you help us out?
Sorry, Ma, I'm not in a
Okay.
position to speak right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. No problem. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Mr. Akin has answered the question already. Mr. Amusa, are you able to help with this? Are you able to unmute?
Right, that's fine. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Sir? Yes, we can hear you. How are you, sir?
Okay, fine. Very well. Doing well. Okay,
Yes.
in my little knowledge, I think the data cycle means the process of gathering data, analyzing it, the process of cleansing, data cleansing, and representation using the different tools in representing your report.
Yeah.
So that's my little understanding about that.
Okay. So yes, thank you very much for that answer, sir. So you've told us part of the data life cycle. You know, when you capture the data, that's the beginning of it, or when the data is created, that's the beginning of its life, you know, with you. Then you make it go through everything you've just said. That is part of, you know, the life cycle, you know. Then after you've done all the analyzing it, looking for trends, cleaning it, you know, there are other steps, you know, that are involved, you know, in its life cycle. So we've got two of these steps. We need more people to help us out. Sister Felicia, please help us with this data life cycle. What other steps or stages are involved in the life of data in its lifetime? If you can unmute, please. Sister Felicia, are you able to unmute? If you're not able to unmute, please put in the chat. That's fine.
Can I go?
Yes, please. So who's that?
Olayinka.
All right, Mr. Olayinka, please go for it.
All right. I would say data lifecycle are the stages that's involved in from the collection of the data, analyzing it, and up until when is either no longer needed and deleted or archived.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very apt. That is what it is. Really appreciate the answer. Yes. Data life cycle from the point where it is captured. Is that Sister Bola? Sister Bola, you've got your hand raised.
Yes.
Please go for it.
I think data collection.
Yeah.
And then yes, then the cleansing, and then it has to go through. I think the cleansing is a process it goes through before we now analyze, visualize, and then interpret.
Yeah. After you've done all of that, what's the next thing that data might go through? Because there's more.
Storage.
Storage, good. Apart from storage, what else?
That's all I know.
You've given it a good go. Thank you very much. Yes, after you store it, sometimes you want to share it with people, isn't it? You want to share it with the stakeholders that asked you to do it in the first place. So that's part of it, you know. And all said and done, it's no longer needed or useful, as Mr. Olayinka said, then it gets archived or it gets deleted. That's the end of stage of it, end of life rather of it. So from the capturing of it or the creation of it to when it's gone through all the processing, all of the cleaning, analyzing, that's all data processing, you know, to it being shared, to it being stored, to it being archived or deleted. So when we talk about data lifecycle, that is what you're talking about, you know. Thank you so much to everyone that's given it a very good try. Thank you. And data cleansing, I mean, we've touched on this while we were talking about data lifecycle. Generally, what would be involved in data lifecycle? Sorry, in data cleansing. What would you do if you were asked to clean data? What do you think it could involve? Please go for it if you can. Don't wait for me to call.
Making sure there are no duplicates.
Thank you. Yes.
And then making sure that the dates, if there are dates, are aligned, because there might be different formats of dates. So ensuring you go with, you know, a single same format all through.
So consistency.
Yes.
You want it to be consistent. Perfect. Yes, that's good. Very, very good. Yes. What else would you do?
All right, can I speak?
Please do. Who's that, please?
Okay, Musa.
Okay, please go for it.
Okay, I think it involves taking out unwanted data that does not conform with the objective of the data gathering.
Yeah.
Okay, and also making sure it conforms with the purpose of the data.
The purpose of the task. Yes,
you
only want the one that you need in it, isn't it? Perfect. Well done. Well done. Yes. So we've talked about removing any duplicate, consistency. We've talked about removing any unwanted or unused part of the data. You know, how about data type? You want to make sure that dates are seen as dates, that text are seen as text. You know, so you look through your data types to be very sure. You're looking at missing data or null values. What do you want to do about those ones? You know, all of these little checks here and there. And this is where, if we go back to qualities or attributes of a data analyst, this is where we say we must have attention to details, because it's so easy to miss out some little details, you know, that could actually really affect your final output in a very big way, you know. But thank you so much for those answers. How about data modeling? What do we remember about data modeling? Go for it if you remember. Don't wait. And don't worry that the answer is not perfect, because we'll make it perfect, and it might even be perfect. It might just be you thinking, oh, it's not really, it might be wrong. Bring it here. Let's make it right if it's wrong.
What's the question, Sister Debbie?
What do we understand by data modeling? No, we covered quite data modeling for about 2-3 days of last week, you know, so. Okay, let me quickly.
I think,
Okay. Go for it, please.
Okay, I think I would say data modeling is like, it's like a blueprint, you know. It shows us how our data is organized, how it's structured, and the relationship between those data. So it's just like a kind of blueprint that shows us a lot about the data. For example, like the architecture of your house now. You know, the house has 2 bathrooms, 2 toilets and things, 1 sitting room and things like that. So it's just the structure of the data and the relationships between them, really. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. Yes. And I remember making an example with this workbook here, where we've got different tabs. These ones here are the tabs. Each table, you know, are the tabs. And we've got customers table, you know, we've got employees, orders, and, you know, products and all of that. So how we show the relationship between each of these tabs, that is what we call data modeling. We model the structure of that data. And now I remember we were talking about star schema, you know, where you've got again, we mentioned something really important. We talked about fact tables and dimension tables, where you've got the fact table in the middle, and it's directly surrounded by the dimension tables. That's the star schema, very simple data structure. And we talked about the snowflake, where you've got the fact table, which is surrounded by some dimension tables, but there are branches from those dimension tables, or there are other dimension tables that are joining. So it's quite a sort of like a web of different tables, you know, joined together. When you look at these tabs, when you're just scrolling through from customer like this to employees to, it's not easy to see how each of these relates to one another. But when you take your time to look through and see, okay, all right, orders placed is actually related to the customer's table, because if I go to orders placed table, which is here, orders placed table, it's got customer ID on it. And the customer's table has got the customer's table on it as well. The customer ID tab column on it as well. So these two are related to one another because they've got this column in common. So they can easily talk to one another, you know. So taking time out to look at the structure, the relationship between each of these tables is data modeling. You are modeling the data, you know. You are looking through the core of the data to see how you can work with it. So that, yeah. And we've got star schema and snowflake, let's not forget. We also at some point, apart from mentioning fact table and dimension table, which we are going to quickly talk about. If I come here again to look at customers table, which has got this customer ID. IDs are very cogent, very important in our data modeling. IDs or keys, because they are quite unique to certain tables. So this customer ID, whilst it is on customer's table, it is unique. A customer would only have one ID. If I'm a customer of Tesco's now, I can only have one ID. If they look through their database and they are finding two IDs for me, then something is wrong. They've got to walk through that data. I must be appearing on their customers table just once. But on their orders placed, because one customer can place orders many times, that same customer can appear many times. Example is this person, CO1. Okay, CO1 is appearing here just once. You know, if we look through and just pick CO1, I must be there just once, if that's me. But if we come here, you know, and check for CO1, it's gonna be, please mute. So CO1 appears 3 times. This person has placed the order 3 times. And we'll get used to it. In other language, we can't call these many table. Many because one customer can appear many times. But this table, we'll call it a one table because that customer can appear just once, okay? Take note of all these terms, the way I'm using them, okay? Now, coming back to the ID. On this table, customer ID is a primary key whilst it is on customer table. But when it gets to another table, especially this orders place table, it becomes a foreign key. I would normally say secondary, but that would be wrong. Foreign key, you know. It's like looking at me as a Nigerian. Anytime I'm in Nigeria, I am primary to Nigeria. That is my origin. But when I'm in another country, when I'm here, I'm a foreigner. So if you remember that concept, that is the same concept here. Employees ID. On employees table, employees ID is a primary key. Yeah, it's a primary key. But when you find employees ID on another table, on this others table now, it becomes a foreign key. I hope we understand that concept is going to help us, as we move on. There is also something we call ERD, and this Snowflake and Star Schema, both together, yeah, we can call them ERD because an ERD stands for Entity Relationship Diagram. Please write it down. Entity Relationship Diagram is showing the relationship between different entities. These tables, each of these tables are called entities. If I don't want to call them tables, I call them entities. Customers table is an entity on its own. Orders placed is an entity on its own. And the diagram that's showing them, either this or this, is called an entity relationship diagram because it's showing the relationship, between each of the tables. Example again, employee table is linked to the states table by states ID. Orders placed is linked to employees table by the employee ID. At some point, we'll draw this from the scratch. Drawing it from the beginning would help us to understand that concept better. Data modeling is quite a huge part to data, a huge part that is very, very important. So the first stage is you have captured the data. Then you clean it. After cleaning it, if you are working with a relational database, this type of database is called a relational database because you've got different tables that have got relationship between each other. It's when you have a relational database that we can be talking about this kind of data models. If there's no relationship, then there's no way we can relate them, and this would not apply. Most of the time, you'll be working with something like this, a relational database. Okay. Let me see if we can look at, like I said, most of these we have touched last week. I won't dwell on them too much today, and we don't have much time left right now anyway. But yes, the tools that you would need to use, which are the technical skills that we talked about here. Part of your qualities as a data analyst, having excellent technical skills. These are where your technical skills come to play. Being able to use your Excel to a very good extent. Power Query, which you can find in Excel and Power BI, very, very important machine. Power Pivot is also found in those two. SQL, very good to have. Tableau, very good to have. Power BI, most organizations want you to be able to visualize or use it. At least have a working knowledge, of it. Google BigQuery, all of these ones. And you don't have to know how to use all. If you can use 1, 2, max 3 of them and use those 3, 2 very well, you are good to go. Then you can add on, as you go on in the journey. Okay. Your technicals, those tools are very, very important. At this point, we've got just 10 minutes more. Sorry, I had to rush through. It's because we've done this before. I'm going to stop recording